So for people that have been watching this channel for a while, you know I talk about Tycho ad nauseum. But it's because I love everything he's ever put out. As you can see, when I heard he was doing another album this year, I was stoked. And it's out. So what I think of it, let's find out. Tycho's fourth LP is called Epoch or Epoch. It's pronounced both ways. You can do whatever you'd like. I'm going to say Epoch. So as you can see, I am a really big fan. I have his first album, Past His Prologue, and then his second album, Dive. This is Awake, which was my favorite album of 2014, and one of my favorite albums I've ever heard in my life. And then this is Awake Remixes. Tycho on social media has been teasing this album all week with a countdown from the last track to the first, with pictures to correlate with each track. I was wondering when the album was going to come out, and he decided today to say, hey, it's out. Enjoy. And that I did. So I wanted to listen to it and give you guys a first impression review because I talk about him enough. Might as well keep talking about him. I feel like in this review, I'm going to compare it a lot to Awake because, like I said, it is one of my top 10, maybe top 5 albums of all time. So that's my benchmark for what I think Tycho's maximum potential is. The intro track, Glider, opens up with this really soft, pretty scale, and then it really quickly breaks into this tribal-like drum sound. And eventually, the signature sound that Tycho pioneered breaks through, and you're immediately back home. I feel like I'm back into this world that I love and I miss, and it's nostalgic and wonderful, all wrapped up into one. While this song maintains the feel of Awake, it's definitely more aggressive, which is a theme that I feel like pervades the album. Horizon is the second track, and it is my favorite track on the album by far. And that's not to say the rest isn't as good. It's just this is the sound that makes me love Tycho. This track is warm, it's synthy, it's bassy, and it's very welcoming. Tycho's guitar tone is otherworldly, and it is one of my favorite sounds on the planet. I immediately like this track as much as anything on Awake, which is saying a lot because that album's so important to me. The next song is Slack, which is actually one of the most aggressive and in-your-face Tycho songs I've heard to date. The drums really command the background, and the guitar noodles in and out of it. It's really nice. Receiver's an interesting track because it dips its toes into trip-hop territory, and honestly, that's not a sound I've associated with Tycho in the past. Thinking about it though, it works perfectly, and I kind of wish there was more of that on the album, but there wasn't. I'll take what I can get. Epoch, the titular track, is the next song, and honestly, I've heard it a bunch because it came out as a single before the album, so you know I listened to it a lot. And the first time I heard it, it didn't wow me, but I liked it. Hearing it now, in the context of the album, was by far my favorite listen of it. The song is almost 6 minutes, so it is the longest song on the album, but it never feels too long, which is the mark of a great song. The next song, Division, is cleverly named because it is the middle track on the 11-track album, so I guess it divides the two halves, which is kind of cool. And I think this song is almost like a medley of Awake-era Tycho sounds, but an evolved version of them. It doesn't feel like a ripoff, it just feels like these songs are back, but there's something different and something awesome about them. The next song, Local, floods your ears with a lot of sound at once, and it's almost jarring, but it's not, and you get accustomed to it very quickly. And while it's very different than the tracks prior to it, it definitely fits in the place that it's at. Rings is a great song, but it's probably my least favorite on the album if I had to pick. And that's only because it sounds like something we've heard before. It sounds like something on this album or on a previous album, but even an okay Tycho song is better than most music in general. There's then a short little interlude called Continuum, which is less than 2 minutes long. It's not super memorable, just a nice track to listen to. He really can't do wrong. The sound is aces, and he knows exactly what he's doing with every single song. The final track, Fields, starts with a really somber guitar that's a little different than anything I've heard on a Tycho song before. And eventually, after you get used to it, it brings in that Tycho guitar tone that you know and love, and it mixes the two together to give a really hopeful sound. It's a really nice way to end the album, actually. This album is a beautiful culmination of their entire career thus far. What I love about Tycho is that it is so cinematic. The world building that he has throughout his albums is unrivaled. This is honestly a worthy addition to their catalog, and an album that we're lucky to be able to hear. They don't rely on old tricks, but instead use them and innovate them in ways that are really exciting and really fun to listen to. On this album, he manages to feel nostalgic and fresh at the same time, which is a really difficult thing to do if you think about it. Honestly, this album was everything I wanted and more. As a Tycho superfan, I can't wait to dive in and listen to it more, but on first listen, my first impression, arbitrary score, I'm going to give it a 9. This year has been so good for music. I keep saying that, but that's because they keep putting out these amazing releases. It's funny, I saw this one up for sale, and then I saw Ghostly International, Tycho's label, put up the vinyl for sale. There's a limited edition on red vinyl, and I bought it before listening to the album, knowing that it would not let me down. And I was right. It's not that limited, though. It's limited to 10,000, so you have some time if you want to grab it. What do you think of the album? How do you think it stacks up to the rest of their discography? You know I love talking about Tycho, so engage me. Let's talk about it. I want to hear what you have to say. If you like this video, please subscribe. Check out my previous videos. I'm going to go listen to this album again, so see you guys later.